point where we left in the last lecture. So this is where we start from. So we had discussed that SCR is a 3-terminal device because it has 3 terminals, namely anode, cathode and gate, denoted with alphabets capital A, capital K and capital G respectively. At the same time, its planar structure also reveals that it is actually a 4-layer device, and the 4 layers are named as P1, N1, P2 and N2, P for P type and N for N type. We also told that all 4 layers are not equally wide, and also they do not have same doping concentrations. So as far as widths are concerned, the first, third and the fourth layer, namely P1, P2 and N2, are having approximately equal widths, while the second layer N1 is the widest. As far as doping concentrations are concerned, the first and the fourth layer, that is P1 and N2, have equal doping, that is 10 raised to 19 atoms per cc, while the second layer, which is the widest, is the most lightly doped with 10 raised to 14 atoms per cc of doping concentration. The third layer P2 is moderately doped with 10 raised to 17 atoms per cc. So the first and fourth layer P1 and N2 have same doping concentration. P2 has a next dense concentration 10 raised to 17 atoms per cc, while N1 or the second layer is the widest with 10 raised to 14 atoms per cc. And this is what is called as a doping profile here. Now we also mentioned the reason why the second layer N1 is kept wider and lightly doped. It is so that the SCR gets its characteristic high voltage blocking capability in absence of firing pulse. Now we also discussed about the biasing statuses of the 3 junctions. All of us know from our ester years that whenever a p-type material and n-type material is fused with each other, it is called as a p-n junction. And the interface between the p-type and n-type region is called as the p-n junction. Now SCR being a 4-layer device, 3 such interfaces are formed. The first interface is between P1 and N1, called as junction J1. The second interface is between N1 and P2, called as J2, while the third interface is between P2 and N2, called as J3. Now we have assumed a circuit setup wherein I have connected anode and cathode of SCR to the positive and negative plates of the battery as shown. So because the anode terminal is nothing but the region P1, and because the p-type material is connected to positive polarity, while the cathode terminal K, which is nothing but the layer N2, that is n-type material, is connected to the negative plate. That means in this particular connectivity, wherein the anode is connected to positive plate of battery while cathode terminal is connected to negative terminal of the battery, this is called as forward biasing of the SCR. Now forward biasing of SCR, although we say, but internally, because there are 3 junctions, so the biasing statuses are different. In case of a simple diode where there is only one PN junction, when anode and cathode terminals are connected to plus and minus plates of the battery, we say that the diode is forward biased. The entire diode is forward biased because there is only one PN junction. But this is not the case with SCR. So we see here, according to the connections made to the battery plates, J1 is FB, J2 is RB and J3 is FB. Because we know that a forward bias PN junction offers no resistance to current, so we have told that the J1 acts as closed switch, J2, that is reverse biased condition, it offers ideally infinite resistance to the flow of current till it is broken down. Either it can go a Zener kind of breakdown or an avalanche kind of breakdown depending upon what is the magnitude of reverse bias voltage. So J2 acts as open switch while J3 again is forward bias, so acts as closed switch. So the conduction or blocking of an SCR is entirely dependent upon the biasing statuses of the internal 3 PN junctions. I repeat, thus the conduction or blocking of SCR is dependent upon the biasing statuses of the individual PN junctions J1, J2 and J3. So because now we have effectively 3 PN junctions acting as switches with J1 and J3 being forward biased and acting as closed switches, while the middle junction J2 being RB and acting as a closed switch. SCR, although forward biased, cannot conduct. I repeat, this shows that SCR, even though it is forward biased, does not conduct because the junction J2 is reverse biased and it blocks the SCR. Now, as we told that here we have not applied any potential to the gate terminal of the SCR. The gate terminal of SCR is open. That means what? We are not applying any firing potential at the gate terminal. So when there is no firing pulse or when there is no potential applied to the gate terminal, in this case the SCR is blocked because the middle junction J2 is reverse biased. Now, if I want to still make the SCR to conduct, then I have to apply a potential between the anode and cathode terminals having a value greater than the datasheet value of SCR, that is a breakover voltage VBO. So if we consider the SCR TYM612, which has the datasheet value of breakover voltage equal to 600 volts, that is VBO equal to 600 volts, till I do not increase the applied battery potential to the value of 600 volts, the junction J2 will not break down. So now all this explanation can be summarized in this way. So we will give the name for the battery as Vin. Okay, let Vin be the name given to the battery potential, which is currently forward biasing the SCR. So we can write down some points. In the circuit setup shown above, first battery Vin is connected such that terminal A is positive with respect to K. Okay, so Vin is connected such that the terminal A is positive with respect to K. Second, SCR is thus said to be forward biased. Third, since the junction J2 is reverse biased, although J1, J3 are forward biased, SCR cannot conduct and is said to be in forward blocking state, is said to be in okay. Fourth, point number 3 thus justifies that A forward biased SCR need not compulsorily conduct okay. Point number 3 thus justifies that SCR need not compulsorily conduct just because it is forward biased. Fifth point is note that the gate terminal is kept open, that is no potential or current is applied to it. Sixth, the above condition is technically called as SCR is forward biased and without gate drive. We can say absence of gate drive. Okay. Seventh conclusion is this, that the internal energy of SCR or built-in potential the internal energy of SCR or the internal energy of SCR or built-in potential called as the breakover voltage equals 600 volts. Thus, for SCR Thus, for the above SCR, or we can say, sorry, thus for SCR to conduct in the above setup, please listen carefully. I am using the words properly. Thus, for SCR to conduct in the above setup, Vin must be greater than or equal to VBO for SCR to conduct, provided the following additional condition is met. This condition is very important, which you will be able to appreciate only when you perform experiment in the lab. Thus, for SCR to conduct in the above setup, the battery potential Vin must be greater than or equal to breakover voltage, that is 600 volts, for SCR to conduct, provided the following additional condition is met. The condition is the device current IA should be greater than equal to a critical value called latching current. Okay, so IL is called as latching current. Okay, so what do we conclude from this? That in the absence of gate drive, we conclude that in the absence of a gate drive, this battery potential Vin must be increased to a value such that Vin exceeds VBO, that is, it exceeds 600 volts. At the same time, the device current IA shown here should also exceed another critical value called as latching current. Okay, that is why in the absence of gate drive, Vin exceeding VBO is called as a necessary condition but not the sufficient condition. So IA greater than IL is called as the sufficient condition. So we can again summarize this thing, because student gets confused in this thing. He says that, sir, in the absence of gate drive, when the applied battery potential exceeds breakover voltage, then SCR starts conducting. Understand one thing, there is a difference between a conducting SCR and a latched SCR. Okay, to conduct and continue conducting. For SCR to conduct and get latched in the above setup. Thus, for SCR to conduct and get latched in the above setup, the first condition is the input should be battery potential should be greater than equal to VBO, and the second condition is IA should be greater than IL. So if the external circuit or the load does not allow the device current or the current flowing through the SCR to exceed a critical value called latching current, SCR will not get latched. SCR is called as a latching device. So understand one thing, that there is a difference between conducting SCR and latched SCR. What is the difference? The difference is this. So we can use Venn diagrams for this. Okay, so we can say that every conducting SCR need not be latched, but every latched SCR is conducting. So we can say from this that every latched SCR is conducting, but every conducting SCR need not be latched. You will not appreciate this statement till you perform experiments in the lab. Okay, so there is a difference between a conducting SCR and latched SCR. So latch conducting, every latched SCR is conducting, but every conducting SCR need not be latched. Okay, we'll give the definition subsequently in the future. Okay, so we can say that this is the necessary condition and this is the sufficient condition. Fine. So I hope that the importance of breakover voltage is clear to you in the absence of gate drive. Now students, listen here. The culprit, that is what is stopping the SCR from conducting, that is a reverse bias junction J2. Okay, so this is the culprit now. Okay, the problem is this. So these two guys are supporting conduction. These two guys are supporting conduction, but the middle guy is not supporting conduction. Right? So these two are favoring conduction. Okay, J1 and J3, but J2 is blocking the conduction. So these two are in and this person is out. Right? So we can say in Hindi कबाब में हड्डी है, तो J2 जंक्शन जो रिवर्स बायस है वो कबाब में हड्डी बन रहा है, तो उसको हमको तोड़ना पड़ेगा. कैसे तोड़ेंगे? गेट से तोड़ेंगे. So now see, there is a relationship. Okay, so this particular problematic case can be dealt by this thing. Okay, so now there is no gate drive. Okay, so we are going to use this gate terminal in order to defeat this reverse bias junction J2. Okay, so another point, obstacle, the only obstacle to a forward biased SCR, the only obstacle to a forward biased SCR is the RB junction J2. Okay, which must be broken somehow. Okay, the only obstacle to a forward bias SCR is the reverse bias junction J2, which must be broken somehow, and there are two ways in which we can break it. Okay, there are two ways in which we can break this. Okay, the first way, as we discussed, is that the battery potential should be made so high that it exceeds VBO, that is 600 volts. And second thing is apply the correct potential or current to gate terminal. Okay, so we are having two ways. We are having two ways to break the reverse bias junction J2, which is preventing the SCR from conducting even though it is forward bias. I repeat that the only obstacle in the SCR conduction is reverse bias junction J2, right? So although SCR is forward biased, it is not able to conduct because the middle junction J2 is reverse biased, and we have to break this junction. There are two ways of breaking the junction. That if you do not want to apply the gate potential at all, if you do not want to apply any potential in the absence of gate drive, you want the SCR to get fired, then you must increase the battery potential to a value equal to breakover voltage, which is 600 volts. And second thing, if you do not want to use that solution, then you should apply the correct potential or current to the gate terminal. Now which of these two should be accept? The one which is feasible. So now understand one thing, that this battery which we are seeing here, this battery is nothing but a power supply. Can you imagine having a power supply with value 600 volts? It's just not possible. I will tell you why. Okay. Now we will discuss what is feasible. Okay. Now the question is, which one of the above two solutions is feasible, or we can say possible? Okay, let us consider the first one. Now V in is nothing but a power supply. In fact, it is a regulated power supply. And we need a potential of 600 volts. Understand one thing, that in a traditional lab setup, the power supplies which we are having have a VO max of 32 volts only. Now if we want to generate 600 volts in the lab, then we have to connect power supplies in series. We have to connect batteries in series. So VO max 1, VO max 2. How many will you require? We require 600 upon 32. Approximately 20 supplies have to be connected in series. Okay, so understand that if I want to conduct the SCR in the absence of gate drive in a lab setup, then I need to connect 20 power supplies with their maximum output voltage in series. Then it is possible to fire only one SCR. Now it is a waste of resources to engage 20 power supplies to fire an SCR. So we say that it is not only possible, but it is not only impossible, it is foolishness. So we can conclude that connecting 20 power supplies in series is impractical and resource wastage. The point. So solution number one is not only impractical, but it leads to resource wastage. The second one, let us see, is it feasible? Okay. So now we consider the second solution. Okay. So apply the correct potential or current to gate terminal. Now the question comes that in the first solution problem was that we need to apply an exceedingly high voltage which needs about 20 power supplies to be connected in series. So because of the requirement of connecting 20 supplies in series just to fire an SCR, if again at the gate side also if we need a very high voltage, then it is the same problem again. The question comes that how much current and voltage I need to apply to the gate terminal. So first let us ask a question. Okay, so how much voltage or current needs to be applied to the gate in order to forward bias the reverse bias junction J2. Okay, let me highlight it. Okay, so how much voltage or current needs to be applied to the gate to forward bias the reverse bias junction J2. Okay, so the problem is that the junction J2 is reverse biased and we either need to break it down or we need to reduce the reverse bias. Okay, so now the attempt is to reduce the reverse bias on J2. This is the solution. Okay, so the attempt is to reduce the reverse bias on J2, or we can say neutralize the reverse biasing on J2. How do we do that? You know that the opposite of reverse bias is forward bias. So we will try to apply an increasingly forward bias on the junction on the gate terminal. Okay, the solution is this. Okay, so now let us draw the SCR again so we can better appreciate what we are talking about. The first layer, fourth layer, third layer. Okay, let us name them also. P1, N1, P2, N2. Anode, cathode, gate. Same setup. We have the battery, positive plate, negative plate, positive plate connected to anode, negative plate connected to cathode. So we have plus here, minus here. Now we have the junctions. J1, J2, J3. Status is forward bias, reverse bias. Okay. So now the gate terminal, now listen carefully. Okay, the gate terminal is nothing but connected to the region P2, which is p-type material. So now the reverse bias on junction J2, has to be increasingly neutralized or nullified by applying an increasing positive potential at G. So what we do is this, is that I try to forward bias the P2 region. How? By connecting a positive plate of battery. So now I have to add another voltage here. So, and I will make it variable. Let me say that this potential is called as V2 and this potential is called as V1. Okay. So as and when I go on increasing the value of this battery V2, more and more current will now enter. So this current is called as gate current. This current is called as anode current, and the current flows through the device. Okay, the current flows through the device and returns back like this, the battery. Okay, so we have two sources, V1 which will forward bias the SCR. We have another source V2 which will nullify or neutralize the reverse bias on the junction J2, right? So what happens is this, that a particular value of gate current is needed to make the reverse bias on J2 0. Okay, so now let us put it down like this. A positive potential at gate terminal, that is the p-type layer P2, now forward biases, I cannot say forward biases, a positive potential at gate terminal, that is p-type layer P2, now gives a forward bias to the junction J2. Let me add. Okay, so a positive potential at gate terminal, that is the p-type layer P2, now gives a forward bias to the junction J2. As the gate current increases, the forward bias from gate side also increases. When the forward bias from gate side exceeds the reverse bias from the battery V1, J2 breaks down, and this phenomenon occurs at a and this phenomenon occurs at a critical value of gate current, and this phenomenon occurs at a critical value of gate current at a critical value of Ig called gate threshold current. Denoted as IGT. Okay, so when you perform the experiment, you will actually measure in the setup all these values: gate current, latching current, holding current, etc. Let us highlight what we discussed. Okay, so a positive potential at gate terminal, that is p-type layer P2, now gives a forward bias to junction J2. As Ig increases, the forward bias from gate side also increases. When the forward bias from gate side exceeds the reverse bias from the source side V1, J2 breaks down, and this phenomenon occurs at a critical value of Ig called as gate threshold current. Okay, so now we come to one more condition in a new setup. So this is the setup which is called as a setup without gate drive. Okay, so we can say that the above is setup without gate drive. Okay, in the setup without gate drive, we have defined two conditions. Okay, just a minute. Okay, so yeah, okay, so we can say these are the two necessary and sufficient conditions to be met in the absence of gate drive. And this condition which we just discussed is in presence of gate drive. Okay, so gate current Ig should be greater than or equal to IGT is the condition for presence of gate drive. So there are two conditions now. If we do not want V in to be as high as breakover voltage of 600 volts, then the first condition is, yeah, so let us put it down. First condition is SCR must be forward biased. Okay, that means anode should be positive with respect to cathode. First condition. Second condition is the gate current which is applied should be greater than or equal to a critical value called gate threshold current. And third thing, even if the junction J2 breaks down, then the current flowing through device IA should be greater than or equal to another critical value called as latching current IL. Okay, so these three are the necessary and sufficient conditions for latching an SCR in the presence of gate drives. That is why we'll write it down. Above above 3 are necessary and conditions above 3 are necessary and sufficient conditions to latch an SCR in presence of gate drive. Okay, so we can just make a note here that current should be positive, that is, it should enter the gate terminal. Okay, the gate current should be positive, it should enter the gate terminal. Yeah, now we come to the important concept of breakdown. Okay, so before we end, let us just put down some fundamental semiconductor concepts. Yeah. Consider a conventional PN junction diode. So this is P, this is N, this is the anode terminal, this is the cathode terminal, and this is my junction J, PN junction J. Now all of us know that both P and N regions are equally doped. Okay, we also know that there is a depletion region formed whenever a P and N type layers fuse with each other. Okay, so let us assume and the question comes that what will be the width of the depletion region to the left of the junction J, and what will be the width of depletion region to the right of the junction J. Can anybody tell what is the relativity between the widths of depletion region to the left of junction J and to the right of junction J? If I say that this width is W1, if I say this is W1 and this is W2, can you tell me whether W1 will be equal to W2, W1 will be greater than W2, or it will be less than W2? First, yes? If W1 is the width of depletion region in the P layer, the left of J, and if W2 is the width of the depletion region to the right of J, what will be the relativity between W1 and W2? Yeah, anybody?
Both are equal.
Yes, correct. So we know that W1 is equal to W2. The one who has answered is correct, but can you tell me why it is like that? And when W1 will not be equal to W2? Yes, you are correct that the depletion region extends equally to both sides of the junction J. But why it is like that? Because of this thing. Okay, so because P1 and because the P and N are equally doped, the depletion region extends equally to the both sides of the junction. So now understand one thing, that this is also called as SCL, space charge layer. So they are called as SCL or space charge layer. Okay, and we can say one more thing, that W1 will not be equal to W2 if P and N have unequal doping concentrations. Okay, so whether W1 will be greater than W2 or W1 will be less than W2 will be decided based on which region is having a larger concentration. Okay, that we'll discuss in the next session.